Perfect. Thank you very much. So again, welcome everybody. Of course, this meeting is now being recorded, and we will share the recording via email and post a link to our website for those folks who weren't able to come join us tonight. But we're very grateful that you all did make the time, and very excited to share information with you about the request for applications for our community-based food network project. So unfortunately, we were unable to secure a Spanish translator for tonight's meeting, but we will provide a Spanish language version of the presentation on our website as well. We're really striving to be as accessible and equitable in terms of this project as possible. So my name is Mimi Enright, and I'm a program manager with the University of California Cooperative Extension Office in Sonoma County. Also on the webinar tonight in a support role is Karina Lundahl, who was recently hired as the project manager for our North Coast Emergency Food Systems Planning Grant, which I'm going to explain a little more detail shortly for you all. So I'm serving as the project manager for the Sonoma implementation project of this grant, which has been funded by the USDA. So tonight I'm going to start off by giving you all a brief overview of the USDA grant and some project context. We'll then go into some more detail about the Sonoma implementation project associated with this grant, which we're calling the community-based food network model. Take you through the request for application process for applying to be a coordinator for one of our up to 5 regional community-based food networks in Sonoma County. And discuss ways to participate, and then open it up to you all for any questions you may have about our program. Oh, sorry, I'm having some definitely some technology issues with my laptop and PowerPoint presentation. So apologies for not staying current on the slides. So wanted to start off by sharing information with you about the North Coast Emergency Food Systems Partnership. This is a 6-county grant initiative and partnership. We came together with cooperative extension colleagues and community-based organizations in 2022 in response to our mutual experiences across these counties in disaster emergency food response. We submitted an application to the USDA to the Agricultural Marketing Service Regional Food Systems Partnership Grant. It's a mouthful. And we were very happily awarded funding in late 2022. The primary counties who are implementing projects in this grant are based in Marin, Sonoma, Humboldt, and Del Norte, but we are also networking with colleagues in Mendocino and Napa counties. We are collaborating with representatives from local and tribal government organizations, with emergency food provider nonprofit organizations, with food policy councils and alliances, with COADs and VOADs, our community organizations or volunteer organizations active in disaster, and local food producers on this grant initiative. So our overall goals of this USDA grant are to build the collective capacity across the North Coast region to improve emergency food systems by networking across those collaborator groups outlined on the previous slide. We're looking to expand economic efficiency and strengthen the economic viability of local food producers by increasing opportunities for those producers to sell into the emergency food supply chain. And we're looking to enhance community food security and build community resilience by collaborating across the collective scope of our emergency food system planning efforts. And I want to highlight that equity remains a focus for us in each of these goals to ensure inclusion and reach of these efforts. Okay, so just for some context setting, I wanted to share this visual. We saw an opportunity in these 3 spheres and how they intersect. Certainly in the space of community food security, which is really chronic food needs, the day-to-day food needs of many of our community members who need nutrition and aid support, and how that intersects how many of the organizations that work in that day-to-day chronic food space, how they often elevate to help us respond in crisis mode, in food disaster relief, in disaster situations. And there are a number of initiatives. Hopefully some of you are familiar with state of California legislation mandating food waste reduction in our landfills. And there's so many opportunities for us to reduce food waste into our landfills and increase food recovery, and be funneling that into our community and crisis food security chains. Okay, so let's dive into the specific implementation we're doing associated with this USDA grant here in Sonoma County. We're looking to achieve increased community resilience by developing and funding leaders for 5 community-based food networks, which we have created the acronym of CBFN. We're really looking to, throughout the county, establish these networks at the community level to establish trust and leverage local knowledge and expertise, to build better, closer local food connections, to hopefully increase local producer revenue opportunities, to assess our emergency capabilities, and to inventory and map local food resources that we can then leverage for both meeting chronic food needs and crisis food needs. We're looking to integrate the feedback and representation of those community-based organizations who are deeply embedded in community, helping meet day-to-day community food needs by building better support and communication structures. And we're looking to develop a comprehensive county-wide emergency food response plan and processes to streamline food service delivery from multiple agencies through multiple channels in advance of emergencies, with input from those grassroots organizations doing that day-to-day work. And I wanted to highlight that this specific aspect of the USDA grant, the Sonoma County implementation, was funded by a cash match from the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors via the Climate Resilience Fund. So big shout out and thank you to the Board of Supervisors for helping us meet the cash match for the grant to be able to apply, and then for us to have access to those funds for implementation of our project here in Sonoma County. So objectives of our community-based food networks. We are certainly looking to center equity across all these activities, looking to mitigate geographic isolation in Sonoma. Certainly we have experienced regional isolation during disasters in the past few years, where a certain region of the county may need to rise up to meet community food needs when they're perhaps cut off with transportation access from the rest of the county. Happened during the Kincaid fire in Cloverdale in 2019, when Highway 101 was shut down, and a number of community members had self-evacuated to the Cloverdale Citrus Fairgrounds, even though it hadn't been designated as a county shelter, and the community had to rise up to help feed that influx of new community members who were resident there during the disaster. Certainly looking to increase our self-sufficiency in these different regions in times of emergency, and also to reduce the disproportionate social, environmental, and economic impacts from emergencies and natural disasters that's increasingly fueled by climate change. Our objectives are also to, I'm sorry, did I go? I think I thought I went forward a slide. This is an example of what we perceive one of these community-based food networks might look like. This is an example from Western Sonoma County, showing that we're looking to network all the players within a local food system, whether those be farmers and producers or restaurants or grocery stores, food distributors, schools, food pantries, and any of the nonprofits working in emergency food on a chronic day-to-day basis, as well as any commercial kitchens and cold storage that might be in that region, often affiliated with schools or with faith-based organizations. So we're really looking to build a locally driven food system network that shortens that the feedback loop of emergency food needs and support, that really better reflects the lived experiences of our community members who are experiencing food insecurity. So this project provides a vehicle for funding support for food security related regional work, both for the coordinators, the agencies and individuals who apply to be a coordinator and are selected to run these regional networks, as well as the network members. And we really hope it helps us to better identify ongoing support needs, not only for food producers, but for emergency food providers, and to try to create a vehicle for finding better funding support for them and build their capacity for the work that they're doing. So we're really seeking representatives to lead these networks that will help us convene these stakeholders, these smaller scale regional stakeholders around the county, to get closer to the lived experience of those facing food insecurity and crisis, and really empower community making decisions about how we feed ourselves and others. And then in a disaster, just trying to illustrate here for you in this visual, how these individual community-based food networks distributed around the county would then elevate during a crisis, during a disaster response, to elevate local needs identified in these regions up through the COAD, the Sonoma Community Organizations Active in Disaster, and escalation up to the county and municipalities for resolution as needed. Another depiction just showing how where the community-based food networks reside within this social ecological model for food security in Sonoma County, starting, of course, with individual and family food security here at the bottom of the model. Those mutual aid network organizations deeply embedded in trusted in community, the community-based organizations that are serving so many of our community members' needs. And here's the community-based food network that is networking these two layers and escalating and sharing information up to the COAD and to local government to help prioritize needs and funding. So in terms of outcomes that we are anticipating associated with the community-based food network implementation, we're certainly hoping that pre-disaster relationships, established relationships, are established to better respond to disasters, leading to increased community resilience, really looking to integrate the food production, the food service providers, the food recovery organizations, and for-profit food businesses to increase our shared capacity, self-sufficiency, and coordination. Looking to increase shared capacity to respond to next events that bridges that for-profit and non-profit worlds, which we've never really sought to do before. And again, create a vehicle for better leveraging this partner network for service and food provision, breaking down silos between existing organizations with these pre-established relationships through this network establishment. We're also looking to create an asset inventory for local food provision, preparation, distribution, and storage that we can leverage, like those commercial kitchens, that cold storage that we can leverage during a crisis. And identify where we have gaps. Do we need more cold storage in certain regions? And are there opportunities for us to seek additional funding to help increase our resilience and our capacity? We're also looking to do some data collection to better inform, based on community-based information at the grassroots level, information about how we're feeding ourselves and others throughout the county, and how we can help county government prioritize funding support for building capacity of grassroots organizations meeting the community member needs. And also we'll be looking in 2025 to develop a countywide emergency feeding plan that is deeply informed by lived experience as reflected through the work of these community-based food networks. So for lead agencies that are selected to lead these community-based food networks, we are seeking to fund up to 5 community-based food networks distributed across Sonoma County. We're hoping to have one network in at least each supervised oil district, each of the 5 supervised oil districts. That's our ideal goal. So the leads, the coordinators for these community-based food networks will be convening quarterly community-based food network meetings with their local food system players to, as we've discussed, build and strengthen the local network, increase collaboration, to lift up all the partners with increasing opportunities, and to assess the needs, inventory assets and resources, and identify gaps. Those lead coordinators will also participate in bi-monthly county-wide community-based food network learning circles with the other CBFN coordinators from around the county and the project team, and also participate in the emergency food plan development that we're going to undertake next year, including testing and activation of that plan, and contribute to project evaluation and policy recommendations associated with our USDA grant. Okay, so let's dig into the eligibility requirements for applying to be a lead coordinator for one of these community-based food networks. Optimally, again, we will have networks geographically distributed around the county. Applicants need to be able to provide a W-9 and have just a basic structure for being able to disperse funding as identified through the needs assessment to help build the capacity of the network. We are certainly open to receiving applications from someone who is an independent contractor, i.e. who is not affiliated with a nonprofit or other business organization, but we are prioritizing applicants who have food systems and preferably local food systems experience. So in terms of what the funding provided to each of the community-based food networks can be used for, it's intended to be used for the staff time to manage the regional community-based food network, and also hopefully with extra funding to help build the capacity of those community-led networks. Funds are not intended for the purchase of emergency food, and indirect costs or overhead is not allowed on this program. The project team supporting this effort is comprised of myself, and Susie Grady, who's the executive director of Petaluma Bounty. And while Petaluma Bounty has contributed to the development of this request for applications, based on their experience in developing community-based food networks in southern Sonoma County, they have not been part of the process leading up to this actual request for applications release, and while responses are being evaluated, as they are likely going to be applying to be a lead agency for one of these community-based food networks. So the project team will support the community-based food networks by hosting bi-monthly meetings with all the CBFN coordinators. We will support and answer questions as needed during in between our bi-monthly network meetings. We will participate and support the first 1 to 2 convenings in each local area. We will provide the funding support that's separate from the allocated individual community-based food network funds, which I'll talk about in a minute. We'll be providing funding support for translation needs as needed for each of those individual networks. And we're looking to create a structure for how the community-based food networks can prioritize local community needs via a transparent and equitable decision-making process based on community input. So we'll be helping provide the framework for how each of these networks is undertaking this. So you're not alone as one of these lead agencies or coordinators. We will be collaboratively developing the tools and resources that we will all be using to support this work that we're going to be undertaking in the community-based food networks, including an asset inventory tool that we'll all use to track the assets, like we talked about, commercial kitchens or cold storage, etc. We'll be co-developing a needs assessment and possible tools for gathering and recording data for identifying where the gaps are, for helping to build the capacity of those regional community-based food networks. Because we have funding from the County of Sonoma Board of Supervisors, and it was from the Climate Resilience Fund of the county, we're going to be needing to develop a system and a metric for measuring reduced food loss associated with these community-based food networks. And we'll be identifying resources for skill building and training for each of the lead agencies coordinating these networks. So each community-based food network awardee will be provided with the same amount of funding annually. The total amount of funding that we have available to fund these 5 networks is up to $150,000. So we're estimating $30,000 per network over the performance period of this grant. And we will work out a model for distribution of these funds on a regular basis over the period of performance of the grant. So the community-based food networks will be funded for at least 1 year of operation. We anticipate securing a 1-year no-cost extension from the USDA to extend this project through September of 2026. So we anticipate use of these funds carrying over 2 years. So that means that $30,000 will be expended over the 2-year period that we anticipate being the performance period for this grant. If we are not able to secure an extension from the USDA, then we'll be looking to expend that full $30,000 in the 1-year period of the grant term. So in terms of the timeline for the request for applications to apply to be a coordinator for one of these regional community-based food networks, we just released the RFP, or I'm sorry, the RFA, the request for applications just last week. Tonight, of course, we're hosting this informational webinar. We have a deadline for questions to be submitted to me at my email address, which Karina will put in the chat for us, by April 15th. All responses to any questions received will be posted on our USDA project website, which Karina can also put in the chat for us. Proposals will be due by 5 p.m. on May 17th. And we anticipate doing award announcements by June 30th at the latest. And the startup, it will take a couple of months to get all the awardees established within the UC system, so we can start rollout of payment and disbursement of funds. So we anticipate starting up with the project in early September of this year and going through the end of September minimally of 2025 and optimally through end of September in 2026. In terms of evaluation criteria that we've established for evaluating the applications we receive, we'll be looking at the following criteria, which include organizational background and capacity, community engagement, project management skills, and equity and inclusion. Apologies, I'm struggling with my mouse again. It's been a frustrating exercise in my PowerPoint presentation tonight, you all. I apologize. Bear with me. And maybe while we pause, I don't know if you've had any questions in the chat, Karina, while I try to find where my mouse has hidden itself. I found it. Are we good?
We're good. No questions yet. I have shared, just so folks know though, within the chat window, I have already shared a link to the request for applications and the application questions, as well as our website and Mimi's email that you can email with any questions regarding the application. So.
Perfect. Thank you, Karina. And then in terms of the process that we're going to be undertaking, we're going to be doing what we're calling an anonymous evaluation. All the information identifying applicants, such as organization, name, address, references to areas served, anything that might serve to identify an organization, will be obscured from the application by Cooperative Extension Administrative Assistant. So the evaluation team will have as unbiased a review as possible of the applicants. The evaluation team will be comprised of Javi Cabrera Rosales from CURA, who has worked with us as a consultant doing an equity lens review of not only the community-based food network model, but our development of the request for applications. Myself, Jeanette Pantoja from the Sonoma Community Organizations Active in Disaster, and our colleague Julia Van Solen Kim with UC Cooperative Extension, who also happens to be the principal investigator on the USDA grant. So why should you join a community-based food network? We're really hoping that these local meetings, these local regional networks will help increase local capacity and funding opportunities, will increase collaboration across sectors, such as crossing the bridging the nonprofit and the for-profit world, will help increase food recovery in our county and help increase our micro-regional self-sufficiency in times of possible isolation during disaster, or being able to share resources we may have regionally with other areas of the county or other counties that may be impacted by disasters as well. We hope that the asset inventory that we would develop through the community-based food networks will help us with improved local and regional emergency food coordination during crisis, and that the data collection that we'll undertake helps us with better informed needs identification and funding, and again, reduced food waste. And with that, we're at the end of the formal presentation. I think I'm going to go ahead and stop share so I'm out of the torture of my mouse problems and issues screen share that I've been having tonight. And we wanted to open it up to any questions that any of you might have about the community-based food network model and the application process.
Mimi, I think this is Elise. I think most of these things have already been happening in District 1.
Which is amazing.
I feel like we are specifically at a point where we have identified the needs and how to create some solutions, and that I've seen that needs funding after that. What's going to happen after this? Do we know?
Well, we hope that we can demonstrate enough significant value for implementation of these that we can then collectively pursue longer-term funding support to continue these models, these regional community-based food networks. So TBD, but that will definitely be part of the project team's work with the coordinators, the lead coordinators, to outline and articulate the value of these, and then seek further funding perhaps from Sonoma County Board of Supervisors or other potential funding sources. I'm glad you're on the leading edge of this, Layson. And I'm sure we have a lot to learn from your lived experience already.
I hope so.
Looks like you have your hand up.
Hi, that is my hand. How are you all? How are you all doing?
Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you. I was typing in the chat, and then I thought, oh man, it's gonna be so long, and I don't know if I'm gonna make sense. So here I am. Well, my name is Maria. My husband is here with me too. We're part of a church, and basically we are. I joined because my sister works for Linda Hopkins, and she's like, hey, Maria, I'm not sure if this is going to be helpful for you and your church, because we are kind of looking for resources in the community. And we already met with someone at the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors. We are in District 5. And, so I'm listening to the information, and I'm like, well, I'm just going to go ahead and go for it. I don't know what kind of questions I'm going to come up with, but what I can tell you is that we are about to probably in the near future purchase the church that we are renting, and we want to use it as a community, because we are a community. We are a community church. And we're always kind of looking to help the community. And I'm looking as to how, maybe not now, but maybe in the future, how we can start working towards those objectives that we want to help the community, but we also need help. Like we want to have a community kitchen. Hold on, here's my husband.
Yeah, one thing. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Victor. And
Hi, Victor.
to say that the church is pretty small church, so and it's that way because we want to be connected to the community. We're looking for a congregational church.
Like a mega church.
We're more like into the community, have the relationship directly with the community.
Nice.
So the purpose of purchasing the building is that we want to have it available for all sources, for nonprofit agencies that are in the community working, they need a place to get meeting or anything like that, or we would like to have like a community kitchen that is available for people in need of a hot plate of
Yep.
food, or even can come and eat there, have like a dining area designed for that. And that's a lot of other things that we would like to have the place set up for it.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. And really important asset for the community. I'm so excited to hear the work that you guys are doing in District 5. I will say faith-based organizations, or even if it's not faith-based, but the type of community-based work that you're doing would be ideal for being a member of one of these, the West County community-based food networks that we're hoping to establish. So you can be part of identifying the needs of the community and elevating what you need to build the capacity of the work that you're doing to help you support the work that you're doing. So would welcome you either considering applying to be one of the coordinators for a community-based food network in West County, or if that doesn't look like a fit to you, then absolutely would hope that you would consider applying or not applying, but joining the community-based food network that we hope to establish in West County.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's either of approach, whether you choose to apply to coordinate a West County community-based food network, or to just join the network when it's set up, because that's the whole intent is let's bring all these assets and resources of what are happening in the community together and make sure we're understanding what's being provided and where the gaps are, and how we can help build the capacity to strengthen the work that we're doing for helping meet chronic needs and also crisis needs.
Yeah, building that network. And like Maria said, we're my whole family, we're always have been involved in the community.
Nice.
Either one way or other, like high school, elementary school, the homeless population. My daughter is Stephanie Manieri, which is the LSP director. So
Lovely.
Maria's sister is Raíces Collective.
Oh, lovely.
Her other sister worked for Linda Hawkins. So we're always involved. This is a family that is totally involved in the community.
That's what we need.
Love the community, and we're trying to make it better for everyone here.
Yeah, so glad you joined. We'll definitely make sure you're on our distribution list for future communications. Please consider applying, and or if that doesn't look like a fit for you, we'll definitely be getting future communications. You'll be on the list to learn when we hopefully are launching a community-based food network in West County, and you could join in on those meetings.
Okay, Mimi, sounds good.
Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
Allison and Anthony, yes, thank you guys. Really appreciate it. Anthony and Allison, any questions from you guys, or did I hopefully address any questions you might have had in the presentation?
Your presentation was great. So I felt very informed and very clear. And yeah, I'm not involved currently with any of the community-based organizations in Sonoma County because I just moved into Sonoma County, but I have been in the past in other areas of California. So definitely very interested, and we'll be in touch for sure. Thank you.
Awesome. Sounds good. And Anthony, any questions we can answer for you? Oh, Anthony, it looks like you're unmuted, but we're not hearing you. Please feel free if you want to enter any questions you might have in the chat, because we're not hearing you if you were trying to share something with us.
Hello? No?
Oh, yep. Now we're hearing you.
Hey, great. Okay. I was just saying I'd second what Allison said. It is a great, thorough presentation. You answered my primary question about the application requirements, and independent contractors are able to apply. So
fantastic.
Thanks.
All right, you guys. Well, an hour and a half planned, but how beautiful is it that we wrapped up in less than 40 minutes? I really appreciate all of you taking time out of your busy lives and joining us to hear about this project, and so excited about your interest, and hope that we'll either see applications from you or see you as members of future community-based food networks. So thank you all for participating. We really appreciate it. All right, take care, everybody. Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.